This is Lonnie Carrington Cason, sometimes written. Alonzo born January 9, 1895 in Albemarle County, Virginia. He grew up a country kid, moved to the city, ran a streetcar, raised a family, fought the Great Depression the best he could, and came home to rest here at Riverview Cemetery in Charlottesville. Lonnie's parents were Motorman Cason and Mariella Cason. Records place the Casons in the Stony, Point and Whitehall area, small communities west and north of Charlottesville where farm work and seasonal labor were the norm. The 1900 census shows him as a 5-year-old in Stony Point. By 1910 he's listed in Whitehall as a servant in a household pretty common for teenagers in farm country. In the 1920 census, Lonnie appears on Staten Island, Richmond County, NY, with a single word beside his name, private. It reads like a military role right after the war. We don't have his unit yet, so we'll anchor to what that place and date meant. Staten Island in 1918 to 1920 sat inside the harbor defenses of New York, a network that guarded the Narrows and ship lanes. Fort Wadsworth on Staten Island faced Fort Hamilton across the channel. Together with outlying posts and observation stations, they watched a harbor where troop ships and freighters moved every day. Harbor defense wasn't just the big guns. Crews drilled in plotting rooms, tracked ships, tended mine casemate gear and searchlights, logged weather and visibility, and kept watch through the night. After the armistice, the Army didn't vanish overnight. Demobilization ran into 1920. Posts still needed men on duty while units mustered out. The equipment was inventoried, and coastal defenses shifted to peacetime footing. That's the world pointed to by Lonnie's 1920 entry. The last quiet months of a wartime system winding down. A lot of short-term soldiers left with a discharge paper and little else. Some personnel files were never centralized. Some later burned in the 1973 NPRC fire. That's why one census word, private, matters. It fixes him in uniform, in New York Harbor, at a specific time. Until we have a unit roster or discharge in hand, we treat everything else as context, not conclusion. By January 24, 1923, Lonnie is in Richmond marrying Rosamond L. His occupation on the licensed streetcar conductor. In this era, Richmond's electric streetcars stitched the city together, north and south of the river. Factories, churches, ballparks, conductors handled riders and fares. Motorman handled the controller. Either way was steady, skilled work. A motorman stood at the controls hand on the controller, eyes down the track. Streetcars braked hard but didn't stop instantly. Tracks cross streets, people step out, wagons and later cars cut across. Operators rang the gong, watched for signals, and tried to keep a schedule. It was a skilled job with long, steady hours. For a young family, it was a lifeline. Lonnie and Rosamond started a household that kept growing. Anderson Carrington was born in 1924. Lonnie Eugene, who would live into the 2010s, arrived in 1928. Lewis Howard in 1931. Estelle Marie in 1934. City directories and registrations walk us through Richmond and Henrico County addresses as the family expands and moves for work and rent. Then the bottom fell out. In the Great Depression, ridership might still be there, but wages, tips, and household credit got tight. On March 2, 1935, a legal notice ran. In the matter of Lonnie Carrington Cason bankruptcy, it set a creditors' meeting for mid-March at the Mutual Building downtown. Not an uncommon story, but tough to live through, especially with 4 kids. In September 1936, another small column. Motorman is arrested. It says a 13-year-old boy ran into the car on East Marshall Street and was treated for minor cuts and bruises. Lonnie was charged with careless and reckless driving. This snippet doesn't follow the case, and newspapers write fast. What it does show is the reality of operating heavy equipment in tight streets. One split second and everyone pays, especially the operator. By 1937, city listings still carry his name in Richmond. Then the final record, November 1, 1938. Lonnie dies at Kecoughtan in the old Elizabeth City County, what we now know as Hampton. That area included major medical facilities and the Veterans Campus. The entry we have doesn't spell out the cause or where he was being treated. It's simply the official place of death. Newspaper lines keep the names alive. On November 2, 1939, a year after Lonnie's death, an in memoriam from a niece appears. Short verse, simple grief. The children grow up, start families, and leave their own paper trails. A decade later, another hard page. On April 8, 1947, Lonnie's widow, Rosamond L, 43, is found floating in the water off Dock Street in Richmond. The medical examiner records the cause as undetermined and notes an autopsy. Address 2935 West Clay Street. Occupation, cigarette packer. Their son Andrew know him as Anderson Carrington Cason, the informant. The form doesn't call it accident, suicide, or homicide. It just says undetermined. Their children kept going. Anderson worked shipping and steel. He died in 1986. Lonnie Eugene lived to 2012. Louise Howard died in 2003. Estelle Marie in 2008. Richmond's streetcars were more than machinery. They stitched neighborhoods together. In the 1920s and 30s, you could set your watch by the clang at an intersection. Operators learned the city block by block, the hill that needed an early break, the curve where the rear end drifted. The time of day school let out and kids poured into the crosswalks. When accidents happened, they were public. When nothing happened, when everyone got home, it rarely made the news. Bankruptcy notices like Lonnie's read cold, but they're human documents. Behind each one is a kitchen table, a stack of bills, and a choice about what to pay first. Families moved more, some doubled up, some took night shifts. For a working operator with 4 kids, 1935 was the kind of year that left marks you couldn't see. Here's what the paper trail lets us say with confidence. Born 1895 in Albemarle, Stony Point, and Whitehall Youth. A 1920 line as private in Staten Island. Married 1923 in Richmond. Streetcar work through the 20s and 30s. Bankruptcy 1935. A 1936 incident on East Marshall. Death 1938 at Kecoughtan. Burial at Riverview still open. That 1920 service context. The details of his final illness and a fuller work record. If you're family and you've got a story, a photo, a route by Jaweel at it. History stays honest when we label certainty and uncertainty side by side. We cleaned his stone the same way we clean all of the mortar soft brush. Patience. Not to make it new, but to make it legible. When the name Cason came up brighter, he stepped out of the category of someone in a cemetery and back into Lonnie, a man who worked to control it through the city and brought a lot of people safely home. If you knew Anderson, Lonnie Eugene, Louis or Estelle, or you've heard a family story about Lonnie's roots, drop it in the comments or reach out. We'll thread it beside the document so the record holds both. The lines on paper and the life they point to. Lonnie Carrington Cason, 1895 to 1938. Stone cleaned. Remembered.